I hope you are doing well, ladies and gentlemen. We got the Texas game going on right now, so very excited to watch this as we stream. But nonetheless, let's go ahead. Let's dive into some injury updates. Let's get into your questions. And I want to say that we pretty much covered the majority of what we already had with injury updates, of course. I mean, we are going to have no Justin Jefferson. The Cardinals guys will be good to go in the case of what we have with Kyler Murray and James Conner, and throw Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson is going to be playing in there as well. Really what we're waiting on right now is Jamar Chase. We are waiting on TJ Hawkinson. And I believe those are the primary guys that we have to sit on our hands for. Both of them playing at noon tomorrow, so we should get some clarity by the time we have to make that decision. And of course, we'll be live streaming tomorrow morning to continue to give you injury updates. And I will let you know if we get anything over the next few hours here. But as it stands, since we were last live, it looks like there's no additional news with either Jamar Chase or TJ Hawkinson here, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and pull up these questions. And as I do that, if you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Today is day 198 of live streaming every single day in a row. Monday will officially be day 200. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and the Garrett Wilson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard as well. But I think that should be about it. Let's go ahead and let's dive into this, ladies and gentlemen. Our first question coming out from Andres says, everyone on buys start Alexander Madison or James Cook. So I was operating under the assumption earlier this week that we would have Leonard Fournette good to go. However, if you actually look at what we have with the Underdog pick'ems, currently you have James Cook well ahead of Alexander Madison. You have James Cook projected for, I believe, 80 total yards. Obviously, 78.5, but obviously phenomenal matchup going up against the Denver Broncos. I want to search this and see if I can get some confirmation on if you are for sure not going to have Leonard Fournette in this game. Because if you for sure have no Leonard Fournette in this game, then you probably need to go through and you need to start James Cook here. Hugo Barnes, Texas score. Let's go. But let me know in the live chat real quick if I've missed anything with Fournette news. Because if I'm looking at this right now, all projections I see have James Cook well ahead of Alexander Madison. And I don't see anything on Twitter. I don't see anything in the live chat either. It looks like nobody is helping us with Leonard Fournette here. Okay, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it looks like Fournette maybe should be out. If Fournette plays, I assume it's a three-man running back by committee where we probably want to go ahead and we probably want to just start Alexander Madison. If Fournette were to miss, then I think we go James Cook based off how good the offense should be. Freddie says 12 team PPR, 3 receivers, 1 flex. 8-1, we have Hurts, Kyler, Gibbs, Henry, Amon-Ra, Chase, Ayuk, Puka, Ingram, and Njoku. Sit tight with Gibbs or try for a running back upgrade. I actually think you are perfectly fine to sit with Jahmyr Gibbs currently. I mean, if this was a league that was a non-PPR format, I would be looking to sell Gibbs. But you are 8-1. We are thinking for the long term here. We are thinking for the fantasy football playoffs. We're going to assume that the rookie continues to get better as the season goes on. And yeah, I mean, this should be someone that still maintains the job as the receiver in this backfield, even if David Montgomery does have the red zone role. So I will be looking to honestly sit on our hands. I think you're in a great spot. But Adam coming out with a massive dono. Thank you so much. Says 3-6. I want to trade for Austin Eckler. Who should we give up that would actually get accepted? We have Burrow, Tua, Kamara, Edwards, Waddle, Diggs, Higgins, Laporta, McBride. His team is Allen, Walker, Chase, Lamb, Pitts, James Cook, Puka, and others. He's loaded all around. So yeah, that is honestly a tougher spot because my initial reaction here is, oh, if we're sitting with Tua and Joe Burrow, what I would look to do is I would love to go ahead and I would love to see if we can sell one of these guys and go get an upgrade elsewhere, right? See if we can go through and sell maybe Joe Burrow and one of our running backs like Gus Edwards and see if we can go pivot over to that elite level RB. However, if the other team has Josh Allen, they have an even less of a reason to go through and trade for someone like Joe Burrow or Tua. So will put us in a little bit of a tougher spot when it comes to getting a deal done here. I mean, if we were looking at something, I think it's going to have to be, first off, centered around one of the running backs that we have, whether that's Kamara or Edwards. I think what we'll probably end up having to do is go through and either send Edwards and Stephon Diggs, or maybe Stephon Diggs straight up. Or you may end up having to send like Kamara and Waddle, or Kamara and Higgins. To be completely honest with you, what I probably would look to do, especially on a 3-6 roster where we need wins right now and we can't afford to lose another game or two, is I would personally go ahead and see if we can sell maybe Kamara and T. Higgins, right? Because in the case of T. Higgins, maybe he helps the other team that's loaded for the long-term upside. Whereas what we have with a 3-6 roster, if we don't get Higgins this week and possibly no Higgins next week, obviously we are going to be sitting on our hands with not much value at all. So that would be something that we could look to try to do. You could also look to see if we could sell like Burrow and Higgins in a package or Tua and Higgins in a package for a great receiver elsewhere, then sell that receiver for Austin Eckler from a team that needs a quarterback. But obviously that other team with Allen is probably not going to accept that. And ladies and gentlemen, look what I got last night downtown Austin. The new mug, the new drinking cup of the live stream. I don't know what we're going to name him, but I assumed a new quality member of the flock here. Can we get some W's in the chat? And let me know if y'all have any advice for names. Let's hear if we got anything. Now, let's move this over. And Andres says, also, Curtis Samuel or Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm going to go ahead. I will take Jackson Smith-Njigba here, my friend. I mean, JSN, fully off the injury report, should be good to go. And also, you're in a spot where we are in a beautiful matchup against Washington, where you just love to see it. And let's go ahead. And I'm sorry. I know some people think Tresner is, let me go ahead and fix this. Okay. Let's see. We got Flockster, Flocky, Floxy. We'll go Flocky. Or Gary. We'll name him Gary Claw. I like the name Gary. We got him. Now let's go. Brandon says 18 BBR 5-4. Starts it week 10. We have Dak, Henry, Hall, Lockett, Dell, Hogginson, James Cook. And then on the bench, Goff, Ford, Montgomery, A.J. Brown, Tyreek, and Schultz. So if we're looking down there on the bench, the best guy to get in the starting lineup would be David Montgomery. Now the question is, how could we get David Montgomery in, right? We're going to have to either start him ahead of Derrick Henry, Breece Hall, or James Cook. While James Cook does have a phenomenal matchup going up against the Denver Broncos, I do think that ultimately I would start David Montgomery over James Cook and then honestly leave the rest of the lineup as is and just send up that prayer. I mean, obviously, we will get A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill back next week out of the bye. Now, Go Bill says, for the flex, Hopkins, Barkley, Godwin, Hollywood, Walker. Full BBR format will go Barkley because he'll have some involvement as a receiver as well. I will say disgusting to play Barkley, though. I'm going to need a straw for this, to be honest with you. This was a very poorly designed little cup. Now, Brandon says, starts at week 10. Baker, Kamara, Cook, Chase, Diggs, Schultz, Olave. And then on the bench, Ramondre, Madison, Lawrence, Flowers, Nico, Najee. So if we were looking down on the bench to try to get someone in the starting lineup, the best option would be Ramondre Stevenson. So if we were looking at starting Ramondre, you would have to go before Alvin Kamara, James Cook, or Chris Olave. I think I'd probably play Ramondre Stevenson over James Cook. I mean, I understand the matchup's great for James Cook going up against Denver. Maybe you can say if we for sure have no Leonard Fournette, then yeah, just play James Cook there. But it is close. I definitely think that we would look at that. And then I personally would probably end up playing Lawrence over Baker, even if Lawrence has that tough matchup going up against San Fran. But that's just me. I think that they are very close. And then also starts at week 10. Goff, Ridley, Ayuk, Kamara, Eckler, Andrews, Lockett. And then on the bench, Walker, Amari, Kupp, Hurts, Kmet, Gus. So of course, Kupp, Jalen Hurts, both on bye. Kmet's already played. So really our only options are Walker, Amari, and Gus Edwards. Out of these options, Kenneth Walker would be my favorite guy to get in the starting lineup here. Great matchup going up against Washington, where right now Seattle does have a top 5 implied team total in the NFL this week. Now, if we were looking to start Kenneth Walker, it would have to be over either Kamara, Eckler, or Tyler Lockett. And I would take Tyler Lockett out to start Kenneth Walker, even in a full PPR format, my friend. Now, Michael says drop Pierce or McBride for Charbonnet or keep both. It's up to you. So if you're all looking at Charbonnet is that running back that is pretty much an elite level handcuff option, where if you were to see an injury to Kenneth Walker, then all of a sudden Charbonnet's a league winner. It's kind of a similar situation to what you have with Zach Moss, kind of a similar situation to what you have with Tyler Algier, where there are these premium handcuff backs where if you really needed to, you could start them. But in reality, the majority of their value is coming from the fact that if the guy goes down in front of them, then they are very exciting. So, yeah, I mean, I probably would go ahead. I'd probably rather have Charbonnet over Dameon Pierce, just because at the last spot on our roster, I'm just chasing the highest ceiling possible. Now, Cheat Chong says Kupp or Keenan rest of season. Brutal spot. I'd probably go Keenan. You're going to get the extra week with him already going through his bye. And then obviously you have both the Mike Williams and Joshua Palmer injuries. Henry says DK, Kincaid, or Madre for Chase is too much. If it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I'd say honestly, no, just give me Chase. Obviously, if it's a deeper format there, we'd have to reconsider. If it's like a 12-team league where you start 3 receivers and 2 flexes, then it's not nearly as easy to say. But if it's like a shallow 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, 10 or 12 teams, I mean, I think you can go out there and overpay for Chase. Who cares? Anonymous says, double flex, Dobbs or Levis rest of season. I'm going to go Joshua Dobbs. I have significantly more Will Levis with my own teams. But the issue is we thought Will Levis had some rushing upside based off what we saw 2 years ago at Kentucky. He didn't rush his final season at Kentucky, but still 2 years ago. But he hasn't run the ball at all in the NFL. So I'm going to go Joshua Dobbs. Have to drop 1 to stream the Indy defense. Or do we fade defense for the week? No, you definitely always want to be playing 1. I mean, you can't just throw up a W. And then Dobbs week 13 bye would kill me. No other quarterbacks, thanks. Okay, so if it's a 14-team format where you're going to have no optionality of what we can do with waivers at the QB position, I don't know. I mean, who could be our defense that's good enough where we can't cut them? Are you telling me that we can't cut the Philly defense? Is that what it is? Maybe we have Philly and they're on bye, obviously. We can't cut Levis if you're telling me that in 2 weeks, Joshua Dobbs will be on bye and we can't pick up anybody off waivers since it's a 14-team league. So maybe you end up having to cut like a wide receiver at the very bottom end of your roster, if that's the case. Now, I believe our next question coming out from Dr. Ryan Cecil. Always happy to see you, my man. Let me make you a moderator on the channel. Don't have to do anything if you don't want to. I mean, if you do see someone copying, pasting the live chat over and over again, you can feel free to tell them, hey, knock it off. If they don't, you get it, put user in timeout, and that'll make sure they can't keep on spamming. But says, hey, Mason, is giving up Bijan in London for Chase too much in a dynasty league? So Dynasty Superflex star 10. So very well balanced dynasty format. I did move Bijan Robinson down in our dynasty rankings. I believe we moved him down from outside of QB. So if you're looking at the 1 QB rankings, we moved him down from like 3, only behind Jefferson and Chase, to maybe 4 behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe 5 behind Lamb. I can't remember if we put Lamb there. But regardless, Chase is a tier above him. Obviously, London has the talent profile, but is just stuck in a horrendous situation. He's only in year 2 of his rookie contract. I think that you're definitely, quote unquote, overpaying. With that being said, I don't necessarily think you have to hate the fact that you're overpaying here if we are getting the stud, though. Now, Gnarls always happy to see us. So Swift and JSN for Pollard. I'm going to go Pollard. We have Bijan, Ramondre, Javonte, and Ford. I mean, unless JSN's going to make a significant difference, right? If it's a 3 wide receiver double flex league, then maybe you go with the package. But I don't know. I think we can go Pollard. Cheeburp says Barkley for Achane or Mostert. Who do you like most rest of season? I think we do take Barkley here just because the Miami backs are going to be in a committee. I don't mind the idea at all of selling Saquon Barkley. I'd love to move off Barkley, though, and instead get someone like Jonathan Taylor. Alex says, who are we going to start? Connor White and Ayuk Amari. We're going to go Ayuk over Amari. Don't want anything to do with the Browns offense. And then we are going to go Rashad White over James Conner. I'd like to see Connor for a week before we start him. Jacob says, 10 teams, 7-2, non-PPR league. We have Tyreek, Jefferson, Zay, JSN, Dotson, Etienne, JT, Pollard, Madison. Who should we be looking to move? Would you trade Jefferson for Adams, Devonta Smith, and Achane? Thanks, bro. Thank you, my man. So obviously this is a league where depth matters not too much. I mean, here you're still only starting 5 skill positional guys and it's a 10-team format. So we're starting, say, Tyreek, Jefferson, Zay every week, then Etienne, Pollard, Etienne, JT. Really what I would be looking to do, hopefully we can find a league mate that kind of understands the value of him at this point. But if we can find a league mate that truly understands the value of Alexander Madison, I think I would rather sell like Alexander Madison and JSN or Alexander Madison and Zay and go get a significant upgrade at wide receiver. I don't necessarily think that we have to be selling the studs to get the depth here with this team. At least that wouldn't be my priority. But it's an absolute loaded team where if you are looking at it, we can literally never start Alexander Madison. Non-BBR format, he should have a considerable amount of value here. I would love to see what we could get. Now, RM says flex spot Dotson, JSN, or Taysom. Non-PBR format, I'm going to go ahead and take Taysom Hill for touchdown upside. A full PBR league, however, most people would take Dotson, but now that Curtis Samuel's in here, I'm strongly considering JSN. I still think you probably go Dotson, but it's very, very close with Curtis Samuel being healthy. That's a full PPR. Non-PPR, like we said, you could just go ahead and if you wanted to, you could just take Taysom. Now, Tyrant says, Moore and Saquon for Lamb. Full PPR, who wins? And out of Hopkins, Dell, Debo, what 2 do we start? Okay, Hopkins, Dell, Debo. Moore and Saquon for Lamb. I think it's a very fair deal, depending on your roster, considering how bad the Giants' offense is. So I don't think anybody wins. I think it's up to your team. I think it's fair. And between Hopkins, Dell, Debo, I'm going to start the combination of... They're so damn close. I would tell you Hopkins and Debo, but now that we have no Nico Collins, I think that there's a pretty strong argument to be made where you could go through and take Tank Dell here. If you're looking at my flex rankings with how I initially ranked these guys, I had Dell 39, I had Hopkins 40, Debo 33. So really it is up to you. Probably Debo and Dell, just with how bad the Tennessee Titans offense probably is. But it is super close here, my friend. Now, Brian says, have BBR 12 team, 5-4. We have Burrow, Eckler, Bijan, Olave, Cup, Jefferson, Andrews, Achane, Jason, Judy, and some upside handcuffs. Should we move Andrews and Olave for Kelsey? If this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where we're going to get Jefferson back most likely next week, then yes, I would go ahead and not make this play for Kelsey. I mean, I think that while, yes, Kelsey's been disappointing over the past 2 weeks, you still have to view him as a player that is in a completely different tier of what you have with Mark Andrews. Now, Yaniv says 10-team full BBR double flex. We have Stroud, Bijan, Hall, Brian Robinson, Olave, Higgins, Hollywood, Jason, Kincaid, Pitts. Played Foreman in the first flex. Who to start? So first thing going forward, my friend, if you're going to decide to play someone on Thursday night, never put them in your flex. I mean, it's not going to hurt you here, but just down the road, if you get like a surprise inactive, right, it may make your life a little bit harder if you played someone on Thursday in your flex. So even if you had, say, like Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, and Deonta Foreman, and you decided that you were going to play Deonta Foreman on Thursday night, in that case, you go through and you move Christian McCaffrey down to the flex just in case something happens. If you're going to lock that Thursday night player in, just put him in at running back 2. But nonetheless, here, if we are looking at this team, obviously we will go ahead and we'll take Stroud at quarterback. Running back, we're going to go Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. Wide receiver, we're going to be going with Olave, Hollywood. And then for that second flex spot, I think we probably are going to go ahead and play Brian Robinson with us not having T. Higgins this week. And then we're going to go Kincaid at tight ends. Now, Rick says Josh Downs is likely out. Should we add Odell, Irwin, Wilson, or Cooks to replace Downs? I'm a Stroud owner. And also, should we start the Detroit or Indy DST? We're going to go with the Indy DST. Detroit's actually playing in the game that has the highest over-under of any game this week. So probably not too interested in that, my friend. And then, yeah, you can go through. You can add one of these guys. I mean, if I had to throw a dart at the dartboard, probably go Brandon Cooks. But he is, I mean, while he's been productive, he's only averaging like 4 targets a game. V says, not sure if we should start Hopkins or Odell. No interest in starting Odell. We are going to go Hopkins. Odell had a great week last week, and I am an Odell fanboy. I really hope that Odell continues to play well, but the reality of the situation is that's most likely not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's a sad reality, but especially in this kind of matchup where you have an incredibly low total here for this game, I'm not really interested in Odell Beckham. Now, Buki says 6-3 full BBR. We have Lamar, Stroud, Swift, Kyron Jones, Javonte, Kelsey, McBride, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Puka, Pittman, Higgins, Dotson, JSN. Any moves? Try to upgrade from Kyron, maybe. So Kyron was that sell-high guy for us a long time ago, but now at this point, you're not really going to be able to sell Kyron Williams, my friend. I mean, what typically happens is when these players get injured, their value actually goes down as they ramp back up, even though you would think it would be the exact opposite. So yeah, while I like the idea of upgrading over Kyron, I think you're probably gonna have to sit on your hands and really not gonna be doing anything for now, but this is a phenomenal team overall. I think long-term it would make sense to go through and send someone like, say, I don't know, Michael Pittman and Kyron Williams to go get a running back upgrade. Which is much, much easier said than done. Let's move this over. And Camo says, 18 PBR, 2 receivers, 1 flex. 9-0, Carr with Jalen Hurts on bye. Etienne, Javonte, Evans, Olave, Walker. And then on the bench, Kirk, Garrett Wilson, Jefferson, Kyron, Connor. Thinking I'm good rest of the season, you're in a beautiful spot. Now that you are getting these guys back from injury, I mean, you have enough depth where if you wanted to go out there and make a play to get an upgrade in the starting lineup, we can definitely shoot for it. With that being said, obviously it's much easier said than done, but it's something we can keep in the back of our minds. But in reality, I mean, you're in a great spot. I think we can just sit on our hands. But if you could sell like Christian Kirk in a package with maybe Mike Evans to just get a better wide receiver when we have these other viable guys coming back, especially on a 9-0 team where we are thinking for the playoffs, it could be something we do. Now, Basil says 10 TBBR 5-4. We have Mahomes, Hall, Henry, Ramondre, Cup, Jefferson, Godwin, Taysom, Jason, Kyler, Pierce. Trade Ramondre, Godwin, Foreman for Juice, Herbert, Debo. What are your thoughts? Thank you so much. Thank you. Godwin to Debo, probably give me Debo. Ramondre to Herbert, give me Herbert. Actually, no, we have Mahomes. So And who is the juice box here? Who is juice here, ladies and gentlemen? Please let me know. Okay, I do not see any. I'll wait to hear what's happening in the chat. And as I do this, I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We have live streamed every single day for 198 days in a row at this point. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, a Garrett Wilson special pick of more than less than half a total yards. So make sure you take advantage of it. And nobody has an answer for me here. Basil doesn't have an answer for me, so I'm sorry. I just simply don't know what the question is. I'm sorry. Now, Cheap Burp says, in Happy BR, 2 receivers, Ridley, Dell, Addison. Now that we have no Nico, now that we have no Jefferson, I'm actually going to go Tank Dell and Jordan Addison. Gus or Connor. We're going to go Connor. Gus is averaging fewer than 1 target per game. And it's a very tough game environment at the same time. And whoever you didn't pick for my wide receiver, Taysom, Flowers, Mitchell. Yeah, we will go ahead and we'll play Calvin Ridley over those guys. Yeah, so play all 3 of those receivers, my friend. But Gabe says, my guy, full BBR, Stroud's my quarterback. Start Woods, JSN, Brian Robinson. Love the content. I'm 7-2 because you, bro, won last year with your help. Appreciate you, my friend. I would say that you have a higher floor when it comes to Brian Robinson with the guaranteed work. You have a higher ceiling in a full PBR format with Jackson Smith and Jigba. You probably end up starting Brian Robinson, but regardless, you're not starting Robert Woods. Now, Sharp says 14-team double flex PPR 4 and 5. We have Burrow, Brees, Bijan, Pollard, Lenny, Diggs, Ayuk, Deontay Watson, MT Downs, Brees and MT for Chase. Give me Chase. Hesitant to spread running back depth too thin as the waiver has nothing. Yeah, I understand that 14-team league. Obviously, depth's going to be much harder to come by. And what if Charbonnet were added? I mean, yeah, if you're going to get Charbonnet in return, then it makes it an absolute no-brainer deal. I still probably do it, though, especially if we have Joe Burrow. So we are essentially making that one consolidated bet on that Cincinnati Bengals offense, right? Which, if we had that stack earlier in the year, obviously it'd be in a world of pain. Now, it would be a little bit better. But I think that would be something that I'd be looking at, my friend. Okay. Now, Bailey says, Pop Douglas, Zay Flowers, or Jacoby Myers. So if you looked at my rankings this week, I would have told you to go ahead and take Jacoby Myers. However, after looking at the underdog pick'ems, they're really telling us no interest at all in Myers with the tough matchup against the Jets. If you're looking at like the expectations that you have right now for these guys, I mean, they have Jacoby Myers currently sitting at 42.5 receiving yards. Then you go ahead and you look at what we have with Zay Flowers. I mean, it's just going to be brutal matchups for these wide receivers. Currently have Zay Flowers sitting at, did we miss it? 44.5 total yards. So they are pretty much neck and neck. I'm not going to go Douglas, especially as this man's not even fully healthy. So I think you probably go Myers, but it is close. Jacob says, same 7-2 non-PBR. Would you do Pollard for Keenan? Non-PBR format, I would rather have Tony Pollard over Keenan Allen. Full PBR league, give me Keenan Allen. Non-PBR league, give me Tony Pollard. Okay. Now, Clint, always happy to see it, says, what are your thoughts on Brees Hall rest of season? Buy, sell, or hold? It depends on the price point. I think that Breece Hall is going to be capped by the offense, and he's most likely going to look like a low-end RB1. Now, if you can sell for a running back that's going to be in a much better offense, if you could pivot off of him and instead go get to someone like, say, Tony Pollard, I think I would much prefer Tony Pollard, to be honest with you. Okay. Now, Hayden says, PBR started receiver and a flex. Devin Singletary, JSN, Watson, Dotson, Woods. We're going to go Devin Singletary at the flex between JSN and Jahan Dotson. It really is going to be up to you. I would have told you to go ahead and play Jahan Dotson if you had no Curtis Samuel, but now that Curtis Samuel's playing, it's a little bit tougher. Just make sure you're not playing Robert Woods. Can't really play Christian Watson anymore. And then start one more receiver if Chase misses. And we're just going to go with the other guy we were talking about. And then also 6-point touchdowns. Russ, Dobbs, Love, Heineke this week. If it is a 6-point passing touchdown league, we will go ahead and we will take Russell Wilson. Steve says, if Chase is out, would you pick up Boyd and play him over Olave? Nope. If Chase is out, I'm not doing it. Obviously, on paper, seems like it'd be an absolute no-brainer with no Chase and no Higgins. Much tougher to project that out, though. Okay, Muhammad says, start a running back and a tight end. We have Gibbs, Montgomery, Stevenson, and then either Schultz or Evan Ingram. Really tough spot here at tight end, actually. I mean, if you looked at our rankings earlier in the week, we would have had Evan Ingram over Dalton Schultz. I mean, previously, I had Evan Ingram ranked tight end 7. Actually, Schultz ranked tight end 6. Okay, so yeah, we had him back-to-back. I was going to say we were going to go Schultz no matter what with Nico Collins out. But then our running back between Gibbs, Montgomery, and Stevenson, really going to matter if this is going to be a full PPR format or a non-PPR league. If it is a non-PPR league, I think you actually have to go with David Montgomery relatively easily. If it is a full PPR format, on the other hand, I actually may go Jahmyr Gibbs. Michael says, how low to sell Saquon? I couldn't trade him and Nico for Mixon, Bijan, or Jacobs. Then you're probably stuck having a hold. I mean, I would love to pivot off and see if we can go get Tony Pollard if you wanted to try that. Jason says, I gave Mostert and Singletary, and we got back Jacobs. We have Ramondre, Bijan, Kyron, Lamb, Pittman, Debo. Was this a good move? Singletary's never going to do anything for this team, so I think that's a fine throw-in piece to get the guy that you want. And if, yeah, that was the guy that you want, then pretty good move. Pretty good move. Now, Benner says, hey, Mason, 3-6, 8-team league. Hopkins or McLaurin? So in the case of McLaurin, we now have Curtis Samuel good to go. In the case of Hopkins, you have no Treylon Burks. I'm still probably going to go Terry McLaurin, though. With his offense, I mean, so far this season, having significantly more volume to go around. Now, Longshong says, if Jamar doesn't play tomorrow, should we bench Burrow for Goff? This is a good question. And I would say if Higgins was good to go, no. But honestly, if you have no Jamar and no Higgins, then yeah, I probably would. Now, Bidmoon says, Robinson or Singletary? Great show, Go. Appreciate you, my friend. I'm going to go Brian Robinson over Devin Singletary, even though Singletary 100% looks viable. Like last week, I was coming out saying, oh, he's probably going to split the backfield with Mike Boone based off what we've seen with this coaching staff. And yeah, that did not happen at all. He had every single touch, and I think that you could strongly consider Devin Singletary here. Now, Cheap Burp says, full PPR league, 1 wide receiver, double flex. We have Deontay, Dell, Ridley, Jones, Barkley, Walker, Montgomery. I have Chase. If he doesn't play, who would you play? All right, so our wide receiver, we are going to go with Tank Dell, our flex spots. Full PPR league, we are going to go with Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, going to be a little bit tougher. Probably go Aaron Jones, full PPR format. So we're going to go Barkley, Aaron Jones at running back. And then if we need 2 flex on top of that, I'm a little bit confused. But I'm assuming we probably need 2 flex on top of that. We're going to go with both running backs. So play all 4 running backs if that's an option. We're going to go Dell at wide receiver, plan A, now that we have no Nico. And then Deontay if we can get another wide receiver in. Timeout Sports says, Mason, my dude, thank you. Hogan Morans tonight. We're doing well, my man. Hogan Morans. 12-team non-BBR format. Need one for the flex. Gabe, Hollywood, Quentin Johnston, or James Conner if he plays. So I think that we honestly kind of have to go ahead and play Hollywood. I know it's a non-PPR crap. Full PPR league, I'd say you have to play Hollywood Brown before we actually get to see James Conner. James Conner will play, but not super confident to get him in his first week here. Very tough spot, and then we go James Conner non-PPR format, that is. Now, Michael says, I'm 8-1 and in first place in a 10-team app PPR format. We have Tua, Walker, Etienne, JT, Chase, A.J. Brown, Hawkinson, Amari, Laporta, Russ, Deontay. Should we change anyone thinking forward the playoffs? Okay. Not necessarily. I would say maybe after this week. Actually, no. Yeah, we are going to change something. If we have both the combination of Laporta and Hawkinson, we're going to go through and we're going to sell TJ Hawkinson. You're going to get more value for TJ Hawkinson than you would Laporta. Laporta's already through his bye. TJ Hawkinson's going to have to deal with the bad quarterback play. And on top of that, Justin Jefferson coming back in. We don't want to start both these tight ends. It's either going to be one or the other. So if you could sell maybe TJ Hawkinson and Kenneth Walker and pivot over to a stud RB1, like a top 4 to 5 player, I think we would. Griffin says trade Henry and Gus Edwards for Jamar Chase. Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. Yes. Derek says 12-team BBR double flex, 8-1. We have Allen, Stevenson, Javonte, Diggs, Allen, Ingram, Deontay, Wilson, Myers. Took a trade including Stevenson, Allen, and Myers for Amon-Ra, Swift, Downs. How to do? Thanks a lot. Appreciate you, my friend. So Amon-Ra to Allen. I don't know if this is Josh or Keenan. If it's Keenan, it's a lateral move and it's up to you. If it's Josh, I'd rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Texas interception. Hook 'em horns, ladies and gentlemen. Going from Swift to Stevenson is a downgrade. Downs to Myers is an upgrade. So honestly, no matter how you cut it, I think it's a fair deal, and it's not one where we can say, oh, side A or side B is a massive winner. I think it does make sense depending on the team situation. And yeah, obviously, we are in love with this team. You're in a phenomenal spot here, my friend. Adam says, answer to my earlier question, send him Laporta and Kamara for Eckler because he only has Pitts. And he rejected it. He won't budge. He won't do that one of all trades. Okay, let's go ahead and let's pull this back up, my friend. I really want to try to help you out and see if we can figure out a trade for you here. Obviously, sometimes just the person we're playing with is not going to be in the mood to get anything done, right? Sometimes that will be the fact of the matter, and there's not much we can do about it. But let me see what the initial team was. And as I pull this team up, let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And the Garrett Wilson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yards. Make sure you take advantage of that. But we are trying to get Austin Eckler. So we offered Laporta and Kamara for Eckler, and he rejected. This guy seems unreasonable. Yeah, I mean, going back to what we were talking about previously, it'd make a ton of sense to see if we can just go through. Can we, if you were going to be looking to make that move, honestly, instead, can we go to the Travis Etienne owner and see if we can send Kamara and a quarterback for Etienne? I think that would almost help your team out a little bit more. And it does seem like this team's probably not going to be one where we can get a realistic trade from. At least if he is going out there and rejecting that trade, my friend. And maybe we have better luck trying to sell one of the quarterbacks, which obviously we don't need. Now, Brody says 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 2 flex. Herbert or Dak, Dell, Terry, Wilson, Pittman, Amari, Aaron Jones, White. We're going to go Herbert over Dak. We need 4 of these guys. We're going to go with Pittman, Jones, White, Wilson, and Schultz or Andrews. We will go Andrews over Schultz. If you look at the Underdog Pick'ems, they have Schultz over Andrews this week, obviously because no Nico and the Browns defense. As you're already mentioning, I'm just going to have a very hard time playing Dalton Schultz over Mark Andrews. Don't Puka says, 10-team at BBR, should I start Henry or Bijan Robinson? Half BBR format, we'll go ahead and we'll take Derrick Henry. Gavin, happy to see us. To say Mason, happy Saturday, friend. Just need to choose between these 2. Start Gabe Davis or Christian Kirk in my flex this week. Thanks. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Christian Kirk. Obviously, Gabe Davis does have a significantly higher ceiling, but Christian Kirk does have the much higher floor here. Let's move this over. Now, Zachary coming out saying 7-2, first place, 8-team league. Goff, St. Brown, Keenan, JT, Kamara, Kittle, Aaron Jones, and then on the bench, Barkley, Wilson, Pacheco. Jefferson, Kyler, any moves? Traded Kittle, Barkley for, oh, beautiful. Yeah, Kittle, Barkley for Kelsey is the perfect deal here. And then after that, if you wanted to see if we could sell like Pacheco and Kyler, or Wilson and Kyler, or Wilson and Goff, Pacheco and Goff, and see if you could pivot over to the top 3 to 4 QB. I think that would be something that we would look to do. By no means is it something that you have to do, but I do think it would be very interesting, my friend. I think it would be interesting. Greg says 10-team standard 6-3. We have Hurts, White, Javonte Mixon. Brown, Cup, Olave, Deontay, Kincaid. Offered Hall, Adams for A.J. Brown and White. Should we accept or stand put? Okay, so White to Devontae Adams. Give me Devontae Adams and is close. A.J. Brown to Breece Hall. It's A.J. Brown's not close. Especially if you have Jalen Hurts here. I would rather just sit on this elite level stack, right? Where we are excited about starting Jalen Hurts. We are excited about starting A.J. Brown every single week. I would rather not mess that up. V says, for Hopkins or Dell, it was Tank Dell, not Odell. I'm super sorry, my friend. 100% my fault. I read an Odell question right before that. I mean, if it's DeAndre Hopkins or Tank Dell, it is incredibly close. If you look at my flex rankings this week, I put Tank Dell at 39, DeAndre Hopkins at 40. I probably go Tank Dell because I like the offense a little bit more, but I wouldn't fault you in either way, my friend. Now, Judy 2Tap says 10-team full BBR. We have Hurts, Henry, Kamara, Hill, St. Brown, Ferguson, Olave. We also have James Conner, Kyron on the bench. Any moves you should make? Love the vids. Thank you, my friend. Okay. If we're getting both Connor and Kyron coming back, I mean, obviously we have enough running back depth where they are expendable, where if you could send one of these RBs and a tight end and see if we can go out there and get someone in a borderline top 5 tight end mold, I think that would make a lot of sense. Now, with that being said, it is very much easier said than done, though. So, obviously, I understand that we're not going to be able to do that everywhere. Elite Henry, always out here. You know, I'm excited to see this. Does Mason, do I send Etienne for JT and Schultz, or send Etienne and Mike Evans for Austin Eckler? I would rather have the Etienne side on both sides of the deal, especially as Etienne's already through his bye now. I mean, you know, a few weeks back, we were saying to go through and in a full BBR format, sell Travis Etienne for Austin Eckler. This was when Etienne was coming off like 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks. And even though we have a ton of Etienne, he's one of my most drafted running backs this year, and I really don't have much Eckler. But a big reason why we were doing that is not only the usage that Eckler has as a receiver, but also Eckler had already gone through his bye, Etienne hadn't. And almost everybody would rather have Austin Eckler over Etienne. So I was like, oh, we'll make that swap. But we're definitely not going to be adding like Mike Evans to Travis Etienne to get to Austin Eckler. I think we'd rather just hold on to Etienne at this price. Joe says 4-5, 12-team full BBR. We have Lamar, Kyler, Henry, Montgomery, Mixon, Achane, Kupp, Higgins, Olave, Thomas, Andrews, Holder trade Henry, Montgomery, Kupp for CMC, Waddle, Dobbs. Sacrifice running back depth for a sick combo of CMC, Achane. So going from Henry to CMC, massive upgrade. Kupp to Waddle, downgrade. We're paying Montgomery to get it done. Full BBR format, yes, I'm willing to go out there and I'm willing to overpay to get Christian McCaffrey in here. The only hesitation that I would have is if this is a league where you start, say, like 3 wide receivers and 1 flex, probably not doing it right, or 3 receivers and 2 flexes. But no, if this is just a standard format, like what we're used to, that's a little bit more shallow, I think it does make a lot of sense to just go out there and quote unquote, overpay for CMC. But Grady says a 3-6, 14-team non-PPR. We have Goff, Kyler, Kupp, Debo, Higgins, London, JSN, Walker, Kyron, Najee, Charbonnet, Keaton Mitchell, Mark Andrews. Any suggestions on upgrades? So non-PPR format, quarterback's going to matter a ton just because the percentage of the starting lineup they're going to account for. Same thing with the running back position. So, I mean, typically that's what I'm going to be looking to build around. I mean, while we do have some solid running backs, obviously, I'd love to get that upgrade if we can over these guys. Walker's going to be a perfectly fine player to have in a non-PPR format. The only thing that I would say is, and I had Kyron Williams as a sell high guy right before we went on the IR, so haven't really been telling too many people to go through and sell Kyron Williams at this point, but I do think I would sell Kyron Williams on a 3-6 team if we can go out and get some running back points for the starting lineup right now, right? And maybe look to sell Kyler in that package to go get that running back upgrade because we can't afford to go out there and continue to lose games. But Easy Eddie, always happy to see you. Long time remember the flock. Says, hey, Mason, the GOAT, 5-4, 12-team redraft, double flex, double PBR. Thoughts on who to start this week in any trades? Allen, Mixon, or Ramondre, Javonte, Warren, Hunt, Charbonnet. We're going to go Mixon or Ramondre. Keenan, Evans, Deontay, Hollywood. We're going to go with Keenan, Evans, Deontay in a double PPR format. So we're going to go 2 receivers and a flex. And then Hawkinson, tight end. And then the DST, we have the Bills, Dolphins. Obviously, we have to start the Bills this week. Honestly, phenomenal team. Extremely well balanced as well. If it is truly a double PPR format, I mean, obviously, I'd love to sell like Mixon in a small piece. Like Mixon and Jalen Warren and Mixon and Hollywood Brown, and see if we can go pivot to like Alvin Kamara. I mean, that would be a no-brainer. I'm assuming much easier said than done, but that is something we can look to do. But honestly, great team here. Very well-balanced roster as well. I think it's going to be a lot better now that Burrow is fully healthy for the case of Joe Mixon here. Now, Hoop Supply says, happy BR Flex, Kincaid or James Cook this week? Thanks. Thank you. We're going to go James Cook over Kincaid. I'd way rather have Kincaid rest of season given positional value. But if we're just talking about a flex here. Okay. Now, Basile says, wasn't by my phone. It's Ramondre, Foreman, Godwin for Khalil and Debo. Apologies. I'm sorry, my friend. So Ramondre to Khalil Herbert, big time downgrade. Godwin to Debo, slight upgrade. We're paying for him to get it done. Honestly, I wouldn't do this. I think Khalil Herbert probably splits the backfield when he comes back in. He also has Tyreek, Ramondre, Hubbard, and Gabe. Yeah, I'm sorry, my friend. I think you are just giving up a little bit too much. I just don't really think going from Deonta Foreman to like Khalil Herbert is some massive upgrade at this point. I'd imagine that Khalil Herbert's probably the starter when he comes back in, but it's probably some iteration of a running back by committee. Okay. Now, Niners says, give Hockenson for Adams. It's a 12-team league where we have Kincaid. I think you can make that move if you want. I will say, do not have high expectations for Devontae Adams this week. It's going to be a brutal spot going up against the Jets. Brock says, have BBR flex Amari or Jalen Warren this week. Not excited about Amari given the matchup that he has going up against the Ravens. I still probably go Amari Cooper here. Now, Garvey says 12-team BBR, 5-4, single flex. Trade away Hollywood Garrett Wilson for Devonta Smith Godwin. If not, what move should we make? Rest of the team is Hurts, Puka, Olave, JSN, Hall, Bijan, White, Warren, Charbonnet, Kyler, Kincaid. Typically, I mean, these deals are really just up to your personal preference, right? We're selling 2 mid-wide receivers for 2 other mid-wide receivers. Hollywood to Godwin. Give me Godwin. Garrett Wilson to Devonta Smith. Wilson pre-Goddard injury. Maybe now it's Smith post-Goddard injury. We have Hurts, Puka, Olave, JSN, Hall, Bijan, White, Warren, Charbonnet, Kyler, Kincaid. Very well-balanced format. I mean, I would love to next week, once we get Jalen Hurts through his bye. I mean, if you could go through and possibly send, say, Kyler Murray and, say, Kyler Murray and Hollywood or Kyler Murray and Garrett Wilson, and go get a significant upgrade of wide receiver when we're just simply not going to need Kyler when we have Jalen Hurts. Like, that'd be a structure of a deal that I'm a little bit more excited about. You can make this trade. I mean, just going back to what I was saying previously. Like, you're selling 2 wide receiver 2s for 2 other wide receiver 2s. You know? So it really is just your personal preference on who you want here. Owen says 3-6, get JT for Jacobs and Javonte. We have HN and Hall. I think that JT is the best piece. If it is an extremely shallow format, like an 8-team format, then yeah, sure, we can go ahead and do it. Now, Kiki says, Watson, Douglas, or Quentin Johnson, a wide receiver 2. I'm down bad. 100% you are down bad. I've learned my lesson. We are not telling people to go through and start Christian Watson. Here you may have to start Christian Watson, though, my man. Hopefully he can stay healthy and play an entire game. We'll see, but you probably have to go Watson over like Douglas. Now, Z-Plan says 3-6, 12-team BBR, projected to lose by 4. We have Allen, CMC, White, Olave, Davis, Ingram, Kincaid. Jefferson and Higgins injured. I was offering Mostert and Godwin for Davis, Moss, and Jefferson. So essentially, it'd be making this trade to just go and get Godwin into play right now. Actually, so we're starting CMC White. We want to be able to start Mostert with the bye. Honestly, I don't think we can make this move. If you wanted to sell like Kincaid and Gabe Davis for Mostert and Godwin, I think it'd make a lot of sense to just get the points in right now whenever we have Evan Ingram as well. While I understand that we're 3-6 here and we're dealing with these players that aren't going to be good to go right now and you want to go get some points in your lineup, I just think that we're probably selling at a little bit too much of a low point at this price. Now, Snakehead Schultz, longtime member of the flock, says, hey, Mason, hope all is well. 12-team BBR single flex. Help me choose one for the flex. Deontay, Madison, James Cook. Thanks for the help. Thank you. Full BBR format. We're going to go Deontay Johnson coming off the 14 targets. And I would love it if someone could let me know in the live chat if Fournette's playing this week. Because I just assumed earlier in the week that Leonard Fournette was playing, but I've not heard anything about it. Ryan says full BBR, Madison or London. I will go Alexander Madison now that we have no K-Makers. Jeff says, pick 2 to start full BBR, London, Connor, JSN. I'm going to go with London and Connor, even though JSN is very appealing in his matchup. Johnny says, hey, Mason, 12-team non-BBR is 6-3 single flex. Tua, Walker, Mason, Hill, Addison, Hogginson, James Cook, Watson, Hunt, Rice, Foreman, Keaton, Mitchell. Pull the trigger for Hill, for Eckler and Hopkins. Thoughts rest of season and any other traits? Good move. I don't necessarily think that we have anything else. We sold the depth. I would say in another spot that it probably makes sense for us to send off Kenneth Walker after a very strong week against Washington here. However, if it's a non-PPR format, that's actually where I'd be looking to hold on to Kenneth Walker. So actually probably don't do anything, if I'm being honest with you. Now, Board just says start 2 for this week. Dell, Olave, or Deontay Johnson in a half PPR format. Olave is someone that you have to start. Deontay or Dell, I'm not going to lie to you. I could go back and forth. If you ask me this question 100 times, I give you 50 answers for Dell, 50 answers for Deontay. While Dell is the more exciting player, you probably have to start Deontay coming off of 14 targets. But like I said, you ask me that question 100 times, I'm going to give you 50 answers for Dell and 50 answers for Deontay. I do not know. Siraj says, sup Mason, JSN or Boyd? Probably going to go JSN. I mean, Boyd had his opportunity with no T. Higgins earlier in the year. Obviously, if we have no Chase, then we can maybe reevaluate that and you could go Boyd. And then Purdy or Stroud, we're going to go Stroud. It's a 12-team BBR, 6-point pass touchdown. Thanks, man. Thank you, my friend. And yeah, I mean, it's just difficult if we are looking at Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Tyler Boyd in that. Like, what's the real ceiling with Boyd, right? I think that's the question we need to ask. Danny says, good evening. Do we start Lamar or Stroud this week? Good evening, my friend. And if it's a 4-point passing touchdown format, we're going to go Lamar for rushing upside. 6-point passing touchdown league, we probably end up going ahead and taking Stroud. Even though I completely understand why you would want to go through and why you would want to play Stroud over Lamar anyway, just given the fact that Lamar obviously does have a very, very tough matchup. Gary says, Devontae or Madison in the flex? Full BBR format will go Devontae. And then should we trade Lamar in for who? No, I'm not trading Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar's still a great option, given that rushing upside he has. And while Baltimore has been great, I don't expect them to keep on winning by 30 points a game. Now, Zen says, 12-team at BBR. Thinking about making a trade to solidify my team for the playoffs. Thoughts on trading Adams and Montgomery for Diggs. The team is Mahomes, Chase, Allen, Adams, Dell, Downs, Taylor, Hall, Montgomery, Stevenson, Warren. If you have this kind of running back depth, I am completely fine doing this. Like, typically I'd say, oh, yeah, well, you know what? I don't necessarily know if I love it, yada, yada. No, if you have this kind of depth, I think that you can go ahead. I think you can just make the play. Go get Stephon Diggs. If it was a league where you had to start 3 running backs, if it was a league where you had to start 2 to 3 flex spots, then maybe we reevaluate. But no, you're in a great spot here, my friend. Preston says, need a receiver upgrade. We have Hopkins, Terry, Puka. We have Kelsey and Kincaid, and we are offered Achane and Diggs for Kelsey and Gibbs. We have Brees and Tony. What do you think? So Kelsey to Diggs. Very close. If we have Kincaid, give me Diggs. And then Gibbs versus Achane. I think most people would prefer Achane. I think that's very close as well. I think it is a fair deal, but if it's one in which that we have Dalton Kincaid to backfill for Travis Kelce, we can go ahead and make the play. Now, Brett says, trade McLaurin, Godwin, and Rashee Rice for Puka. My receivers would be Jefferson, Puka, DJ Moore, and Myers after that. I'm 7-2 and likely to secure the playoff bye week. If this is a shallow format where you start 2 receivers, 1 flex, and there are only like 10 or 12 teams, then sure, you can go ahead and do it. Obviously, if this were to be like a 14-team format If it's a league where you start 3 receivers or if you have multiple flex spots, it'd be a little bit tougher. But yeah, if it's a league where it's very shallow, you can make the play if you want. Easy Eddie says, I know you don't like rostering backups for elite quarterbacks and tight ends week 10. We have Watson and Frymuth as backups to Allen and Hawkinson. I mean, as long as Frymuth is sitting on our IR, right? We're not wasting a bench spot on Frymuth. I think it's fine. And this is coming from someone who drafted a lot of Pat Frymuth. I wish I didn't. But Pat Frymuth hasn't really shown us anything this year, right? So I don't know. In my mind, it's like hard to go out there and justify that for sure he's going to be someone that we should be rostering. And then Watson for Allen. I'm fine with that in that you do have the Allen bye week coming up. Now, True Play coming out saying Flex 2, Montgomery, Gibbs, Ferguson, Boyd, Irwin, Noah Brown, JSN. We're going to go Montgomery and Gibbs. Just play both Detroit running backs. I mean, obviously, they're going to eat into each other, but they are running behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Our Gravy says, have BBR season on the line, JSN, Flowers, or Jahan Dotson. Can everybody spam the chat for our Gravy here? Season on the line, half PPR format. Where are you going? JSN, Zay Flowers, or Jahan Dotson? You have Curtis Samuel good to go. You have Zay Flowers in a very tough matchup against the Browns. You have JSN in a great matchup against Seattle. You got Dotson, JSN, Zay, JSN. Dotson, JSN, Dotson. Looks like most people are going JSN, Dotson. I was even thinking maybe going Zay Flowers, to be honest with you. So the real answer is I have freaking no idea, to be honest with you. Griffin Face says, should I give up Bijan Cup for DeAndre Swift and Devontae Adams? I would say no with Bijan Robinson. Having the best fantasy football playoff schedule of any running back. So I would say no, but of course I am very biased, so you probably don't want to listen to me. Now, Big Pew says, hey, Mason, format is a 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receivers, a flex and a tight ends. Happy BR. We have Dak, Kamara, Etienne, Evans, Ayuk, Deontay, McBride, flexes Gibbs. And then on the bench, we have Kyler, Higgins, Juju, Waller, Elijah Moore. Any moves? Appreciate you, my friend. Depth's going to matter a little bit more here. I actually like having Kyler on the same team. As Dak, I think you can play the matchups between these guys. We're waiting around on T. Higgins. The only thing that I would say, and I know this is very boring, and I know you don't want to hear this. I mean, you'd rather hear us go through and list off some trade ideas. But realistically, if I was trying to help this team, I think that would potentially make sense for us to just cut Elijah Moore, cut Juju Smith-Schuster, cut Darren Waller if he's taking up a bench spot and he's not in the IR. As at least with the wide receivers there, they do have severely capped ceilings. Well, I don't necessarily know what has to happen from this point onwards where Elijah Moore turns into a league winner. I don't think it can happen, if I'm going to be honest with you. But Lil Louis says, 10-team BBR single flex, 7-2. We have Allen, CMC, Saquon, Olave, Wilson, Hawkinson, Thielen, Devonta Smith, DeAndre Swift, Sanders, Davis, JSN, McBride. I want a top 5 receiver or Kelsey. What do we offer? So, I mean, you're going to have to offer players that people are excited about, right? So you're going to have to go through, you're going to have to send TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift for Travis Kelce. Or Saquon Barkley, TJ Hawkinson for Travis Kelce. Or Garrett Wilson, Saquon Barkley for, say, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you know? I think that 100%, I'm in agreement with you. I think that's the deal that you are looking to make on this team, given your format and given your construction here. Just understand that we're not going to get it cheaply, right? You're going to have to go out there and you're going to have to pay a considerable amount. Now, Hakima says, 18 PBR. Need to make a push for the playoffs. I was offered Bijan for Saquon. Should we accept? Saquon's my running back 1. We also have Achane and Gibbs as my other backs. So Saquon has the worst fantasy football playoff schedule of any running back, and Bijan has the best fantasy football playoff schedule of any running back. So if you were a team that was locked into the playoffs and we looked like we were going to have a round 1 bye, I would be fine with you going Saquon. Going Bijan. However, if you're a team that on the other end of the spectrum, we're fighting to get in, we don't have a seat at the table currently, then instead you probably have to be on the other end of the aisle and you probably have to go through and hold on to Saquon Barkley before the playoffs, just given the volume that he is seeing and the fact that he actually gets touches at the goal line. Now, Michael says 5-4, 10-team full BBR with Allen, Walker, Amadre, Pittman, Higgins, Terry, Kirk, Njoku, Robinson, Myers. Need an upgrade at running back or receiver. Any suggestions? Thanks. Thank you. I mean, here, if we're looking at this team, you're going to have to sell someone that people are excited about. Nobody's going to buy Kenneth Walker right now. Maybe you can sell Kenneth Walker after this week where hopefully he goes out there and crushes it. But I mean, what you're probably going to look to do is you're probably going to look to go ahead and see if we can move off Ramondre Stevenson after he just crushed Washington. And if you wanted to see if you could sell Ramondre and like Terry McLaurin in a package, 2 guys that have been producing a considerable amount, and go get to that running back in higher tier, I think that would be very exciting. Because ultimately, these guys like Ramondre and Terry McLaurin, I don't really think that they change too much here in the long term. Now, Dylan says 5-4, 10-team PBR. We have Allen, JT, James Cook, Aaron Jones, Hopkins, Lockett, Thomas, Schultz, and then on the bench, Puka, Kupp, Kelce, Moss, Dylan. Chalk this week already, but how's the team in any traits? Great team. The only thing that I would say is after this week, I'd assume that we're probably in a pretty good spot, right? In that we should get another, at least in my mind, we should get another decent performance from Dalton Schultz with Nico Collins. We want to start Dalton Schultz this week, and then we're probably going to look to go ahead and see if we can sell Dalton Schultz next week as we're getting Kelce back in. Maybe package together Schultz and someone like Lockett if Lockett has a big week against Washington, and see if we can go get something that we're excited about here. Now, Matt says 12-team Superflex Dynasty, sitting 7th. Multiple trades, including Eckler in a 3rd for Montgomery and McBride. Give me Eckler. Johnny for a 3rd and Douglas for a 3rd. So my issue always in going through and trading third round picks have no value in Dynasty, right? But my issue in trading the 3rd round picks for guys like this is you need to ask yourself, if I am a contending team, should Douglas actually move the needle? Should Jonnu Smith actually move the needle? Obviously, someone like Austin Eckler is going to move the needle and he's going to help you win this year. But if you're a dynasty team and you are meant to win it, will Douglas be the reason that you win or lose? Probably not. So I always understand, the 3rd round pick doesn't really matter. But also, if you're a rebuilding team, we probably don't want to sell the pick. And if you're a contending team, what contending team really needs to go through and trade for Jonnu? You know? So just ask yourself, is this guy actually going to make a difference, or am I sending a 3rd round pick so he can sit on my bench? Now, Ale says, full BBR, I'm 4-5. Thoughts on me trading Kincaid, Devonta Smith for Justin Jefferson. We have Kelsey, Puka, Lockett, Shaheed, Christian Watson, Jalen Hurts as well. I mean, El, if you are sitting here and we have Travis Kelce in the long term, I think it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I would ask if we can do this next week. That way we can get the Kincaid points in here this week for the Kelsey buy. But yeah, I think if you can make this deal next week for Jefferson, I'd love it. Jer Schumann says, where do you have Achane rest of season, not the community rankings? Okay, let me pull this up. And as I pull this up, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We're going to live stream every day until 2024. We've gone 198 days in a row at this point. And if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and that Garrett Wilson special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. But let's go ahead and let's pull up what we have with the rankings. So if you don't know, these are free on flockfantasy.com. At least the community rankings are free on flockfantasy.com, of course. Just give me 1 second to set this up. I was not planning on having this up. So essentially, when you go to the rankings page on flockfantasy.com, you're going to get prompted with 4 guys. It's going to ask you, hey, how would you rank these players rest of season? We're going to go ahead. We'll just say we'll rank them like this. Submit that. And then you are going to see that you have community rankings, which we take that data point that everybody submits, and then we throw it in, and we have a massive, massive amount of data, and you will see those community rankings. Obviously, the expert rankings are different. The expert rankings are going to take all the experts that we have on the site, and they are going to average them into this list. And you can go ahead and you can add my rankings, right? So you can see, oh, the community rankings have Josh Allen ranked at 3 overall. That's what all y'all voted on. I have Josh Allen at 11. Or, oh, the community rankings had Jamar Chase at 7. I have Jamar Chase at 3, you know? So you can go through and you can see, oh, let's check out where Devon Achane is in the community running back rankings. Devon Achane is currently sitting at RB 12 in the community running back rankings. And let me go ahead and get up my rankings here for y'all, ladies and gentlemen. We updated these earlier this week. I try to keep my rest of season rankings updated on flockfantasy.com all the time for y'all. I have Devon Achane ranked at RB 13. So community rankings have him at 12. I have him at 13. I hope that helps. Let's move this over. Now, Embriador says 12-team PBR double flex. Team is Allen, JT, Montgomery, Tyreek, St. Brown, Achane, Wilson, Connor on the bench. Should we ride with this team or make any moves? 7-2. Okay. Honestly, I think we probably do ride with this team. I think you're in a great spot, right? I mean, having James Conner on the bench, not necessarily someone that we need to go out there and sell. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a situation where depth does matter. It's a 12-team double flex format. I mean, we're well-rounded across the entire roster. We have the elite level guys at wide receiver and running back and quarterback. Honestly, you're in a phenomenal spot. I think we just ride with this team as is, my friend. But now, Cranabo says, a full BBR. I'm planning on starting Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Andrews Laporta, Tank Dell in the flex. I'm benching Godwin and Judy. What you think, Shoddy? Appreciate you, my friend. And here I think that Godwin would be the guy that I would want to get in the starting lineup if we were to change anything. If I were to play Godwin, it would either be over Wilson, London, or Dell. And I would be over Drake London. I personally play Godwin over London. If you really, really wanted to go London over Godwin, I'm not going to fault you for it. I don't mind the matchup, though, going up against the Tennessee Titans. Just Sherman says, Bijan, Kamara, Walker, Achane ranked rest of season. Well, my friend, I can go ahead and I can pull up what we have on with my rankings on flogfantasy.com. Look, we added Mason Dodd, sorted by me. And yeah, we have the tiers on flogfantasy.com for everybody as well. So if we're going to be looking at Alvin Kamara, I have Kamara ranked at RB5 rest of season. This is for full PPR. I have Kenneth Walker ranked at RB18 rest of season. And we already talked about Devon Achane, and I, Bijan Robinson, ranked RB7. If you look at the community rankings, so this is how y'all are valuing these guys. Alvin Kamara, RB5. Bijan Robinson falls down to RB11. Devon Achane at RB12. And then y'all have Kenneth Walker at 17. And like I said, those community rankings are free on flogfantasy.com for y'all. Bazil, let me go ahead and pull up your team one more time. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to make sure that we answer this question the best we can. And as I pull this up, I'll explain. Yeah, so while the community rankings are free on flogfantasy.com, my rankings are behind a paywall. We do have a considerable amount of premium content behind paywalls. Like I just put out a video over there behind a paywall. But if y'all wanted to check out any of the paid stuff on flogfantasy.com, Code Flock will get you 30% off any subscription. And at the same time, yours truly will break down your team with the Mother Flocker package in a podcast. But let's pull this up. So it is Mahomes, Hall, Henry, Kupp, Jefferson, Godwin, Taysom, JSN, Kyler Pierce. Great team. The only thing that I'd like to say is if we could write out the Kyler value this week, and then next week, whenever we have Mahomes back in, look to sell Kyler, I think that makes sense. Now, Caleb says 12 team BBR traded London and Ferguson for Ayuk. Team is Lamar, Eckler, Jones, Lamb, Evans, Laporte, Ayuk. How do you feel about that? Love it. I mean, Ferguson has no value for us whenever we have Laporte here. Laporte is already through his bye week as well. I think it makes a ton of sense, my friend. Great team. Eno says, hey, Mason, Watson or Judy. We're going to go Judy. And then Russ or Baker. Probably go Russ, even if we're not super excited about it. Logan says, just traded Pollard to get Lamar straight up. Was it a horrible deal? Pick for tomorrow. Keenan, Olave, Pittman, Tank, Sutton, London. Great team. We're going to go Keenan, Olave, Pittman, Tank. And then I would rather have Pollard over Lamar Jackson. I still really like Lamar, and trust me, I drafted way more Lamar than Tony Pollard this year, so I hope I'm wrong here. But yeah, overall, Pollard is a running back that has the volume and a great offense, where I'd expect them to start performing better. Gigity Goose says Tank Dell or Christian Kirk. I think we probably have to go Tank Dell with the Nico Collins injury. Probably, right? Now, next question coming out from Cade says 12 team BBR. Traded White for Devontae and Dell for T. The Dell for T I really like. The White for Devontae, kind of up to you. Team is now Goff, Eckler, Etienne, Lamb, Waddle, Laporta, Adams. The bench is McLaurin, Morris, Spears, Charbonnet, Deshaun. Phenomenal team, yeah. I mean, great team here. Really, you do have the expendable depth where if you wanted to send Terry McLaurin and Jared Goff to go get a top 5 QB, like we can go get Lamar, I think that'd make a lot of sense. But honestly, great situation and great team here, my friend. Okay. Now, Kieran says, hey, yo, best fantasy advice out here. Keep the hustle going, bro. Always happy to see. If y'all don't know, Kieran's been with us forever now. Need to fill 2 flex spots, full BBR. Ayuk, Javonte, Deontay, or Hollywood. Full BBR format, I think we're going to go with the receivers. I think I'm going to go Ayuk and Deontay Johnson. Hollywood Brown, we're obviously way more excited about him now that he does not have Clayton Tune throwing him the ball. But, I mean, I'm not super excited about going all in with Arizona. The first week we have Kyler back, the first week that we get back James Conner, I would rather wait to see these guys and then be able to go through and start them. But Danny says, Mason, I was offered to trade. I get Kamara for Kupp and Brian Robinson. My other running backs are White, Jacobs, and my receivers are Chase, Hollywood, and Deontay Johnson. You can do it if you want. Like if you look at the community rankings on flogfantasy.com. Currently, you have Kamara at 17 overall in the community rankings. I have him 17 in my own rankings as well, which is crazy how that ended up. 21 in the average expert rankings. How far down did Cup fall? Oh my gosh. Am I missing Cup? Oh no. Cup is here 23 in the community rankings, 18 in my rankings. So I have Kamara and Cup back to back in my rankings. You see that there is a considerable gap from them in the community rankings. So, I mean, Brian Robinson's like a fair price to make. I'm not like jumping up and down with joy about the deal. But Super Tie Protest says, we have Allen, Mixon, Montgomery. Who do we sit? Thank you. Thank you. I would rather not sit any of these guys. If it's between Keenan Allen, Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, however, probably end up having to bench David Montgomery, even if I'm not pumped about it. Now, Green Blocker says 12-team league, 8-team points against. We're in 9th, 3 and 6th, or 18 playoffs. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, we're still in the mix, 18 playoffs. I've been doing package deals, give the best wide receiver core of all time. We have 3 empty bench spots. What should we do? Dobbs, Jefferson, Chase, Cup, JSN, Bijan, Foreman, Spears, Jake. Okay, so once all these wide receivers are healthy, we are going to be in a phenomenal spot. Now, with that being said, we're 3 and 6. We really need these guys healthy right now. You know, well, even if 8 teams make the playoffs, we don't want to lose 2 more weeks. I would say with our 3 empty bench spots, we need to hit the waiver wire and we need to go through and primarily focus in on just picking up running backs. I mean, here are RB2's Deonta Foreman. We may not be able to start Deonta Foreman when Khalil Herbert's back here. So if we could go through and if we could pick up 3 running backs that kind of look like Tajay Spears, right? Or if you really needed to start him, you can. But really, we're going to be rostering him in case the starter goes down in front of him. And then all of a sudden, they are very exciting. Now, Spartan Warrior says 10-team PPR, 6 and 3. We have Hurts, Stroud, Brees, Ramondre, Javonte, Kyron, Lamb, Ayuk, Pittman, Puka, Hollywood, Kelsey, McBride. Any trades of strength and thanks? Thank you, my friend. Super simple. I mean, here we have 2 top quarterbacks, right? I mean, I think a lot of people would be pumped to go through and trade for CJ Stroud. So, I mean, if we could go through and if we could send CJ Stroud and get an upgrade elsewhere, knowing that we have Jalen Hurts, I think that make a lot of sense. If our trade deadline's next week, though, we are going to look to do that as we have Jalen Hurts on the bye this week. We'd rather hold out his points for now. Keaton says, Ridley playing the Niners, Wilson or Debo at wide receiver 2. Probably go Garrett Wilson, full PBR league. Joey says, the Browns defense or stream the Seahawks full PBR. Thanks. Thank you. We're going to go with the Seahawks defense. The Browns defense, 6-point dogs here. And Seattle going up against Sam Howell, who has the most sacks taken this season. Rusty says, made some moves. Traded Gibbs for Adams. JSN for Laporta. Love the Laporta deal. Gibbs for Adams is questionable. And we got Connor off the waivers. Beautiful. Wide receiver, we need 2 in the flex. Deontay, Pittman, JSN, Dell, Connor, Ford. Okay. Our wide receivers are going to go Pittman and Underdog pick him, say Tank Dell over Devontae Adams this week. If you look at the projections on Underdog, they have Dell over Adams. I have a monkey brain, so it's going to be extremely difficult for me to make that call officially. I think it will be up to you between those players. And actually, if it's a full PBR format, we'll just start. Yeah, we're going to go Pittman, Deontay, and then we're going to go Dell or Adams. Up to you. I don't think we're going to start Connor if it's a full PBR format for the flex. In the long term, maybe. I would like to see him at least 1 week in here. Now, Jay Johnson says flex 1, Boyd, Noah Brown, or Jahan Dotson. I think we are going to go ahead and take John Dotson unless Jamar Chase misses. Then you can maybe pivot over to Boyd. Lil Boo Pill says, at BBR, Hollywood or Pickens rest of season. We're going to go Hollywood, especially as this offense should be better with Kyler. Now, P. Mike Williams says, pick 2, Montgomery, Warren, Sutton. Love the flock. Appreciate you, my friend. I'm going to go with Montgomery and Sutton if it's a full BBR format. Non-BBR league, you could pivot to Warren. Warren just doesn't really have any touchdown upside. Now, Tristan says, hey, Mason, got another 12-team full BBR, $25 buy-in. Who to start and who should we trade for? We have Tua, Lawrence, JT, Etienne, Ramondre, Kelsey, Wilson, Ayuk, Deontay, Taysom, 5 and 4. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. We're going to start Lawrence at quarterback this week, Taysom at tight end because those other guys are on bye, of course. We're going to go JT, Etienne at running back. We're going to be going with Wilson, Ayuk at wide receiver. And then for the flex, we will go Ramondre Stevenson. And then honestly, very well-balanced team. I don't necessarily think that we do anything. I mean, I would love to tell you, okay, once we get Kelsey back in, let's go ahead and let's see if we can sell Taysom Hill. The reality of the situation is I don't think you'll be able to get much for Taysom. Maybe if he has another week where he scores a touchdown, if you wanted to send Taysom like Ramondre Stevenson and go get a significant upgrade at running back, you can. I just don't know if you'll be able to. James says, Montgomery, Saquon, Mixon, Javonte, Chase, Olave, Lockett. Full BBR, we need 2, 2, and 1. Who should we play, and should we trade Mixon for Waddle? I would rather have Mixon over Waddle now that you have Burrow fully good to go. Our 2 running backs, we're going to be going with Montgomery and Mixon. Our 2 receivers are going to be going with Chase and Olave. And for our flex, we will go ahead and we will play Saquon Barkley, my friend. Just Sherman, long time member of the flock. Appreciate you so much, my man. You know I appreciate you hanging out with us every single day. Yeah, if y'all don't know, Just Sherman's been with us forever. Now, CTE Sports saying, Mason needs some trade ideas. 3 and 6, third most points for, but first in points against. We have Burrow, Pollard, Gibbs, Kupp, Keenan, Ayuk, Schultz, Ford, Spears, Gainwell, JSN. We have an easy schedule rest of season. Okay. Brutal, my friend. But the team going forward now that Burrow is fully healthy should be much better. To be completely honest with you, there are no trades to make. Very well-balanced starting lineup, upside across positions. Down on the bench, we are rostering running backs that are an injury away from making a big difference. We have a wide receiver as well that can continue to expand his role as the season goes on. Start Pollard, Gibbs, start Kupp, Keenan, Ayuk in the flex. I'm sure you already knew it. But yeah, I think you're going to be in a much better spot going forward, my friend. Yeah, especially if it's only a single flex league. Now, On God says, should we trade Jacobs and Jaden Reed away? I get back Javonte and Calvin Ridley. So Jaden Reed to Calvin Ridley is an upgrade. Jacobs to Javonte is an downgrade. I'd probably keep Jacobs. I mean, Calvin Ridley looks like a wide receiver 3 at this current moment. Richard says, Lamar or Kyler this week. Kyler is the much better matchup. I'm just not going to play Kyler his first week back from a torn ACL over Lamar. We're going to go Lamar. And then flex Aaron Jones or Deontay Johnson. I will go ahead and I'll take Aaron Jones, even though typically I want to just go through and play the guy that's coming off 14 targets, right? Typically Deontay would be my guy here. Now Diego says, have BBR, trade Gibbs for Henry. My running backs are CMC, HN, and Spears. You can in a half BBR format, full BBR league, I'd probably prefer Gibbs. Now 44 MSU says, 10T BBR. We have Bijan, Walker, HN. AJ Brown, Waddle, Debo. Do we sell Walker in a package for a flex upgrade over Debo? Walker has a bad playoff schedule. 100% think that we can do this. I don't want to try right now, though. I mean, you can try, but the fact of the matter is you're not going to get anything. Like, if you look at what Kenneth Walker's done over the past 2 weeks, he's had brutal matchups. He's done nothing, and now everybody's talking about his brutal schedule going forward. I wish I'd have listened to y'all in the chat who are screaming at me about this a while ago. Sadly, I was not smart enough to listen to y'all. That is my fault. But I think if you wanted to make this move, you're going to have to wait here and you're going to have to look to do it like, I don't know, maybe I think you'll have to do it after this week. Walker may have a much better spot going up against Washington than he does currently. Now, Jordan says, non-PPR, does Collins being out make Dell a better option at wide receiver 2 over Godwin? Or do you still have Godwin as the better option? Non-PPR format, I probably go Dell because I think he has more touchdown upside. I think that they're very close. Obviously, if Nico Collins were to play, though, I'd go Godwin. But I think we can go Dell over Godwin, no Collins. Tristan says, Barkley or Bijan rest of season? Full BBR the best. Appreciate you, my friend. Bijan will be in a much better offense. Barkley has a much better workload. Barkley is a better running back at this point of their respective careers. My issue is, if you look at the playoff schedules for these running backs, if your playoffs run through weeks 15 through 17, which that should be the setup for everybody, Bijan Robinson has the best fantasy football playoff schedule of all RBs, while Saquon Barkley has the worst fantasy football schedule of all RBs. So I would say before the fantasy football playoffs, probably give me Saquon Barkley. With Bijan being a rookie and most likely continuing to expand his role, and his schedule being beautiful down the stretch, I may go Bijan Robinson long-term here, long-term. Slay says 10-team BBR point per carry. We have CMC, Mixon, Madison, Moss, Kupp, Puka, St. Brown, Evans, Hawkinson. Traded for Jalen Hurts. We also have Stroud and Kyler at quarterback. Should we hold tight? I mean, if it's a 1 QB league, we sell Stroud, right? Easily. Like one quarterback format, if we have Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts, we're good. We're chilling. CJ Stroud coming off a massive week. And if it's a point per carry format, I'm going to opt to have the rushing QBs rather than the traditional passers with a ton of volume, such as CJ Stroud. Vince says 10-team, have PPR. We have Hurts, Kyler, Rashad, Montgomery, Achane, CMC, Charbonnet, Higgins, Devonta, Amari, Gabe Davis. Second place, what trades should we look to make? So Rashad White's a running back that I'd potentially look to sell high if you're not playing in that full PPR format. I mean, this is an RB that obviously is exciting in that he does give you the consistent workload, but the offense should be worse going forward. He shouldn't be scoring touchdowns at the same clip. So if you could go through and possibly move off of, say, Rashad White and Kyler Murray after this week, once we get Jalen Hurts back in, I think that would make a lot of sense there, my friend. Now, Ricky says, should we trade Hopkins and Walker for Deontay, Rashad White, or trade DK for Terry, Brian Robinson for Terry, or Brian Robinson for Devonta Smith, or Brian Robinson for Gus and the Cowboys defense? Okay, so this is a lot. First deal, only if it's a PPR league. Then DK for Terry, up to you. Personal preference. Brian Robinson for Devonta Smith. Hell yes, give me Devonta Smith. Let's go get Smith, especially now that you're in a spot where you have no Dallas Goedert. And Smith should have a higher target share in this offense overall. And should we start Baker or Dobbs? We're going to go Dobbs. Given the rushing upside, if it was a 6-point passing touchdown format, maybe you can go Baker. I'm assuming it's a 4-point passing touchdown league. DK, Hopkins, Brian Robinson, or JSN. We're going to go DK. Walker, Brian Robinson. We're going to go Walker. And then Johnny or McBride. We're going to go McBride now that you have Drake London good to go. Now, real quick, let me find our next question. And as I do this, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Levi says, should I trade Ridley for DK with his schedule? I mean, it's up to you. I probably would rather have DK Metcalf over Ridley. The thing is, obviously, I mean, Ridley is a running back that has just been so inconsistent so far this season. Now, Danny says 14 team PBR 8-1. Looking to trade Kyler. My options right now are Kyler straight for DK or Kyron. Rest of the roster is Burrow, Saquon, Montgomery, Hill, Kupp, Andrews, T. Should be looking to make a bigger deal with this team. Okay, so if it's a 14-team format, obviously depth is going to be harder to come by, and depth will be more important here overall. We don't necessarily need depth at running back or receiver currently. It can't hurt to add it in. And honestly, I think we probably would take DK or Kyron, and it's going to be up to you. If you have Joe Burrow, where Burrow's already made it through his bye, and he is going to go every single week in a 14-team league, I think these guys can make a difference for you. Now, Flavio Dior says Burrow, Lamb, Chase, Walker, Connor, Ingram, Adams for the flex. And then on the bench, Moss, Pitts, Kirk, HN, 10-team full BBR, single flex. Any suggestions? I would consider going Kirk over Adams this week, given the Adams matchup. It's not like Kirk has a great matchup either, so I'm not going to fault you in any direction you opt to go in. And then outside of that, honestly, not much. I mean, I do like rostering those guys like Moss, and now that their values come down, considering the fact that if you were to have that injury to JT, then obviously it does look like a league winner. So we probably are sitting on our hands here. Probably are. Now, Mark says trade Keenan for Derrick Henry. Non-BBR format, if you're desperate for a running back, sure. Full BBR league, probably not. Alan says, at BBR, my running backs and tight ends are Henry, Eckler, Jay Williams, Spears, Kincaid. Should I pick up Charbonnet and McBride off waivers, both sitting the next few weeks? If both are sitting, we're going to go with the player that could fundamentally change into a league winner if an outside force happens. Trey McBride's already sitting in the best situation you could ask for, right? I mean, you already did see the injury to Zach Ertz. But if you were to see the injury to Kenneth Walker, then Zach Charbonnet is a true league-winning running back. So I probably will go Charbonnet here, my friend. Okay. Now, Sherrod says, 16-team happy BR 2 and 3. We have Goff, Stroud, Etienne, Hubbard, St. Brown, Deontay, Njoku, Singletary, Cooks, Reynolds, Noah Brown, Jameson, Demario Douglas, and Musgrave. Any trades? $16-team league, depth's going to matter significantly more. The only thing that I would say with both our quarterbacks being through their bye weeks already, if you could approach your league mates and go and sell one of Goff or CJ Stroud and get a running back too that we'd be very excited about, maybe that's something that we look to do. Obviously, we are taking on a considerable amount of risk because if then we turn into the league mate that sees an injury to quarterback and we don't have a backfilling option, then we are at risk there. See, I mean, if you wanted to go out there and if you wanted to make the play, we probably can because, I mean, obviously there have been so many injuries to quarterbacks where if we're sitting with two solid starters, maybe we can get something in a 16-team league. Now, DTB says, big week, started 0-3, now 5-4. Hell yeah, circling the block on guys that put me down 0-3. Number one seed is up this week. Kirk, Olave, or Kenneth Walker for the flex. Wishing you the best of luck, my man. Probably going to end up going ahead and taking Kenneth Walker. I mean, if you are looking at Walker, obviously he's been horrible the past 2 weeks. He's been banged up. Plus, he's had really tough matchups. Now it's going to be a much better spot, on the other hand, going up against Washington, where Ramondre just had a good week himself. Abel says, hey, Mason, I'm 8-1 this season. Hell yeah, we got HN in a trade the week he got injured. My running backs are Etienne, Bijan. Should we trade HN for Swift or keep him? I would rather have Swift over HN. I'm not going to fault you one way or another, though. Give me Swift over HN. HN, obviously, I mean, it's been much better from a full PPR perspective. But still. D-Bro says, full PPR for the flex, JSN or Ferguson? We're going to go with JSN for the flex. Obviously, make an argument Ferguson has more value given his value of a replacement, but if we're just going raw points. And also, is there a combination of Barkley, Walker, DK, Pittman we can upgrade with to either position? I mean, if you wanted to see if we could send like DK and Saquon Barkley and pivot over to ETN, pivot over to Eckler, I think that'd make a lot of sense. If you wanted to see if we could send Barkley and a lesser wide receiver and go pivot over to Jonathan Taylor, then we could look to do that. And in the case of Kenneth Walker, you're probably going to have to wait until a big week here. Brazy says, PBR running like boy this week. Appreciate you, my friend. If Jamar Chase does miss, I'm fine playing Tyler Boyd. But let me go ahead and pull up what we had last time you had no T. Higgins here. I believe we had no Higgins against the Seahawks. Am I correct in that? No, Higgins played the Seahawks. Was it the Cardinals that we had no Higgins? Yes, it was the Cardinals in which we had no T. Higgins, where Burrow had 36 completions, which Tyler Boyd accounted for 6 of them. So you were looking at a market share number in what we saw last time with no Higgins of Tyler Boyd at about 16%. I don't necessarily know if that can be something that we're super, super pumped out. Of course, if Chase misses, then you probably have to be excited. Now, Nidal says, start for Olave, Hollywood, White, Javonte, or Deontay. We're going to go Olave, White, Javonte, Deontay. So essentially, we have to bench one guy. Probably bench Hollywood Brown here. Hollywood, I am excited about for the long term, but I do think that we can at least wait 1 week to see what we have here, right? It can't hurt to wait literally just 1 week. Mike says, yo, Mason, start to Pittman, Cook, or Jordan Addison in a full PPR format. I'm going to go Pittman and Addison. If we have no Fournette, James Cook should be in a really good matchup on the other hand. John says, Gibbs, Montgomery, Ford, or Myers for the flex. Non-PPR, I'm going to go Montgomery. Full PPR, I'm going to go with Gibbs. Now, Duke says, PPR, pick 3. Deontay, Godwin, Dell, Montgomery, Kirk, James Cook. Just want to take a minute to respect the 198 consecutive days. You're a legend, bro. Appreciate you, my man. And to be honest, I brag way too much as is, but if you do think about it, it is crazy. 198 days in a row. I mean, videos, we've had a video every single day across all our channels for years, but that's easy because I can record like 7 videos in one day and then take a week off if I really need to. We've done that a couple times over the course of the years. A live stream, there's no way getting around it. You have to show up, you know? I can't pre-record a live stream, but thank you so much, my friend. We're going to go Deontay, Godwin, and actually, no, I'm sorry. Probably going to go Montgomery, Dell, and Deontay in a full PPR format. I would have gone Godwin over Dell if we would have had Nico Collins good to go, but with no Nico, I don't think we can. Slay says that point per carry is point per completion. Oh, okay. Then in that case, instead of selling Stroud, we're going to be looking to sell Kyler. If it's point per completion rather than point per carry, then it's almost the exact opposite. We don't care about the rushing quarterbacks. We'd rather have the QBs with passing volume. Ben, and with Stroud is obviously perfect in that format. Now, Ben says, Adams, Gibbs, or JSN at the flex. I'm going to go Gibbs. Bijan, Montgomery, Chase Allen, and the other flex option, JSN or Warren, Lost Higgins for the week. If we could just play Adams, we'd go Adams. But I'm assuming maybe this is a different league. And if it's a different league between JSN or Warren, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take JSN with it being a really good matchup against Washington here, my friend. Dirty Dan says, full BBR league, Olave or Dell for the flex. I'm going to go Olave. If you look at the underdog pick'ems, they have them pretty much identical. James says, full BBR, we have Geno Carr, Saquon Montgomery, Mixon, Javonte Warren. Should we trade Javonte for Stroud? Yeah, I don't necessarily think Javante's making a difference here. I mean, what I would rather do is I'd rather try to trade Javonte and a quarterback like Carr and see if we can pivot over to Lamar. But ultimately, yeah, I do think we should sell Javonte for a quarterback. And if Stroud's the best guy we can get, Stroud's the best guy we can get. Now, Fishing Bass says, need lineup help, double flex league, happy BR. We have Godwin, Addison, Myers, Hopkins, Boyd, Ford, Madison, Etienne, Henry, Mixon. Thanks, based on the flock. Appreciate you, my friend. Wide receiver, we are going to go ahead. We're going to play Godwin and Addison. Running back, we are going to be going with Etienne and Henry. For the flex, we are going to go Mixon. And your call between Madison and DeAndre Hopkins. Bench Boyd, bench Jerome Ford, bench Jacoby Myers. Alexander Madison, you have no Cam Akers, so he should have a considerable workload. But on the other end of the spectrum, obviously, you are sitting here and if it's actually it's a half BBR format. Half BBR format, I'd probably go Madison over Hopkins, even if we have no Treylon Burks this week. Okay. Now, Yoni says Lawrence or Levis after Stroud's legacy game. We're going to go ahead. We will be taking Lawrence over Levis. Obviously, the matchups couldn't be more different, though. Now, Dab Maricona, always happy to see us, says, just traded Algier and Gibbs for Etienne. Beautiful trade. Oh, my gosh. Beautiful deal, my friend. Now, Matthias says, happy BR, need a receiver and a flex, JSN, Watson, Pickens, and Jalen Warren. Our wide receiver, we're going to go ahead. We will play George Pickens. Our flex, probably JSN, given the matchup. I don't act like JSN's a must-start option here, but I think between these guys, you can make a pretty strong argument for him. And then should we drop one of them to get the Indy defense? We have the Cleveland defense against Baltimore, and we need to win. If we were sitting at, say, like 3-6, and you're going, you know what, Mason, if I don't win this week, I'm done skis. Then yeah, I probably would go through and I'd probably just drop Christian Watson to pick up a defense. Let me look at the Browns' schedule going forward, because, I mean, if the Browns then turn around, have a couple games against the Bengals. Let's see what it is. Maybe we drop the Browns defense, even if they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. They go Ravens, Steelers, bro. No. We're going to want the Browns defense down the stretch. They get the Steelers, Broncos, Rams, Bears, Jets. Yeah. We're going to want the Browns defense. But this week, obviously, was such a brutal matchup. I think you could pivot if you really wanted to. Now, next question coming out from Rapul says, should we start Dak or Lamar? We're going to go ahead. We will take Lamar over Dak, my friend. Adam says he would give me Eckler for Laporta, Kamara, and Waddle. It's just way too much. Like, yeah, that kind of person, you can't just give in to them just because they're being frustrating. They're just going, I'm only going to give you this guy if you dramatically overpay. But maybe I'm wrong. Can everybody spam the chat? What side of this deal would you rather have? Would you rather have Austin Eckler or Sam Laporta, Alvin Kamara, and Jalen Waddle? So you upgrade from Kamara to Eckler, and you're paying Laporta and Waddle to get it done. So please let me know, what side are you going with there? Okay. Well, I'm sorry, my friend. Do not see any messages in the chat. Adam says it's a massive overpay. Mike says second side. Yeah. Laporta, Kamara. Angelo says depends on who he has to drop. Kamara. Laporta, Kamara. Yeah, it looks like everybody's saying not to do the deal as well, my friend. I don't think you can. Now, Mr. Bad Ratcher says, you're the man for the flex you were going with. Kincaid, Adams, or Watson. Already starting Laporta. Do we double down tight end? Need the W in a full PPR format. Couple different things. My gut reaction is, hell no, I cannot start a second tight end in the flex. Generally, we're never looking to do so, especially not over someone like Davante Adams. Now, with that being said, Dalton Kincaid is in one of the best situations possible, one of the best matchups possible, whereas it's the exact opposite of a situation with Davante Adams. So while typically I would love to go through and I would love to say, yes, let's go Davante Adams over Kincaid easily. Here, I think it's a little bit tougher. I do think that it's kind of up to you. To be honest with you, my friend, I really don't know. Now, Ollie says 4 and 5, 12-team full BBR, no tight end, double flex, traded away Barkley, Adams. We got back Eckler, Devonta Smith. Was it a good deal? Rest of the team is Allen, Diggs, Wilson, Nico, Rondell, Jason, Gibbs, Herbert. How's it looking, and do you think we can win this year? First off, thank you for being a long-time member of the flock, my friend. Now, Barkley to Eckler, massive upgrade. Adams to Smith, lateral move now that you have the Goddard. Beautiful trade. Beautiful trade. Phenomenal team. We have the Allen Diggs stack. We're well balanced across the team as well, especially now that we get Eckler in. I think that you can win it. What I also like about getting Eckler here is he's already through his bye as well. The only thing, of course, is just getting to the playoffs. We have to get to the dance. We have a losing record right now, and we have a few guys that still have yet to go through their bye. Now, Egg says, need help choosing my two flexes. We have Dell, Wilson, Hollywood, Barkley. We're going to be going with Wilson and Barkley, even if Barkley's in the worst spot imaginable. I could also sit Madison. Ooh. We may play Tank Dell over Alexander Madison. At BBR, 3 and 6, matchups close this week. You definitely play Barkley over Madison. We definitely play Garrett Wilson with one of the flexes. So the fundamental question is, do we want Tank Dell or Alexander Madison? I think it's close enough where it is up to you, where if you really wanted to go Alexander Madison, there you can. But yeah, I think that is close there, my friend. Now, Silent Fist says full BBR, Addison or Deontay, Kittle or Hill. We're going to go Kittle over Hill, and I'm going to go Addison. No, I'm going to go Deontay over Addison. We're going to go Deontay. Jose says flex, happy BR, Debo or Singletary. We will go Debo over Singletary. Now, Andres says thoughts rest of season. 12-team BBR. Howell, Walker, Moss, Hill, AJ Brown, Laporta, Kincaid. And then on the bench, Waddle, Hubbard, Jason, Deshaun. Hard to get a running back when nobody wants to trade. Well, the thing is, I mean, obviously, if nobody wants to trade, we're going to have to give up someone that's exciting. I do think that we have an exciting piece that we can't afford to give up here. I mean, if you're looking at our team, we currently are sitting with both Sam Laporta and Dalton Kincaid. So if we could go ahead and potentially move off of one of these tight ends, I mean, Kincaid's the guy already through his bye. If you wanted to send, like, say, Kincaid and Zach Moss or Kincaid and Walker and go get a running back upgrade that way, that would be the way you would have to go about it. I mean, honestly, if nobody's trading a running back, though, I think another thing we could look to do is go do that same deal, but packaging with the quarterback to get a QB upgrade. Okay. Now, I believe our next question. X says, I have Taysom, who's projected 3 points, but double digits. If you're looking at Taysom versus Kittle, Taysom is someone that you can go with in a non-PBR format because you were just chasing touchdown upside. I think Taysom has more touchdown upside than Kittle, but Kittle also has the more, like, look, Taysom's at 23.5 rushing yards and half a touchdown for his pick'em. But it's a 1.5x multiplier on him to score a touchdown. So it's not like Taysom's guaranteed to score a touchdown this week. And if you think he is, go to Underdog. Take the 1.5x multiplier they're going to give you on it. Now, Lager Niners says 7-2, quarter point PBR, 14-team league. Got for Stroud. We're going to go Stroud. Detroit higher over and under, but Stroud coming off a monster game. Yeah, I mean, Detroit, definitely a higher implied team total. But with that being said, they are probably going to be a little bit more willing to go out there and run the ball, right? Whereas Houston, a little more willing to go out and just air it out. Now, Inspired says start 3, London, Samuel, Davis, JSN, Brian Robinson, Michael Wilson. We're going to go London, Brian Robinson, and then we're going to go Jackson, Smith, and Jigba as well. I think JSN has a higher floor than Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis has the higher ceiling. Maybe you say if it's a non-PBR format, you go Gabe Davis. In a full PBR league, you go JSN. Now, Johnny says Swift and Sutton for Alexander Madison, Warren, and Chris Godwin. So Sutton versus Godwin, give me Godwin. Swift versus Madison and Warren, give me Swift. Running backs are CMC, Foreman, James Conner. Receivers are Pittman, Keenan, Watson, and Sutton. Yeah, we're going to go with the DeAndre Swift side here, my friend. Stealthy says trading Diggs and Swift for CMC. Great move. And then Saquon and Amari for Kupp to replace Diggs. Rest of the team is Kyler, Etienne, St. Brown, Hawkinson, HN. How we do? Love the first deal for sure. So the overall trade is we are trading Saquon, Diggs, Swift, Amari for CMC and Kupp. If it is a league where you want to start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, I'd be fine with it. I'd be fine. Now, Colton says start 1, JSN, Dotson, Samuel, Boyd, Shaheed, and Pickens. Most people probably go Dotson. I honestly don't know. Just whatever you do, do not play Shaheed. Whatever you do, do not play Shaheed. Don't play Boyd here if Chase plays. It's going to be between JSN, Dotson, and George Pickens. I like the matchup for JSN. Aiden says, hope you're having a good night. Have a great one, my friend. Do I use Dak or Goff? And then McBride or Evan Ingram? We're going to go Dak and Ingram, even with Ingram in a tough matchup. And do we try to trade HN for a high-end wide receiver or running back? I would at least wait 1 more week, but if HN is coming back in and people are really excited and valuing him as if he is for sure locked and loaded to be in RB1 here, I'd be perfectly fine looking to pivot off of him, because if you are looking at Devon HN, I don't know. I mean, this is a player that was living off of efficiency, not volume, which obviously is very difficult to project going forward. Now, Dave says, full BBR, 1 for the flex, London, Ferguson, or Samuel. If this is Curtis, we're going to go London. If this is Debo, we're going to go Debo. Jared says, should I trade Amon-Ra, James Cook for Olave, Derrick Henry? I'm going to go Amon-Ra here. Yeah, especially full BBR format. If you're locked in the playoffs, keep the best player. Keep Amon-Ra St. Brown. Alex says Debo or Puka rest of season. I will go Puka over Debo. Prohibit says Dell or Boyd for the flex. For sure going to go Dell over Boyd. We're going to go with the guy that we've seen the production from this season. But I think that should be it for this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Probably going to cut it here. Of course, we will be live tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, and potentially even the day after. We'll be live every day until 2024. So if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you find that link in the live chat, description, comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And a Garrett Wilson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do appreciate you. I really hope I get to see you tomorrow morning. Hoga Morns, looks like we're winning this game easily. Hopefully I did not jinx us here, but Dave says, choose one, London or JSN. Probably London. Don't love it though. But yeah, thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate y'all, and really hope I get to see you tomorrow morning.